I remember my first mission. I was thinking, I'm going to go there and I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to help them. I'm going to. It was all, you know, thinking of how grateful they're going to be because I'm coming to save them. And I remember coming back and just being totally changed. My heart just broken, and I don't know, it's humbling, I guess, because you think that, you know, it's all about you and what you're doing, and it's not. And it's, you know, a little seed that starts to grow.
The Nobi Indians, they move from place to place depending on what crops are ready to be picked or harvested. And so not only are they very, very poor, but many of them don't have a stable place where they live all the time.
They're outcasts, really. Pretty much all the Indians in Panama are just outcasts, even though they're the natives there. And it's kind of like the Native Americans here. They're outcasts, you know. People won't hire them because they are Indian, or but they are hard workers. I mean, when we saw them, I mean, they started at 3 o'clock in the morning picking beans, and you're bent over all day long for 10 hours. That's hard work. And so it's not like they don't have the desire to work.
They come back with a different perspective of how we live and our wants and our needs, and how much are those do we really think we have to have, and then you go see that and it's like, wow.
But they love their kids. They love them. They're playing with them. They're, you know, holding them. And if you think about it, you know, they're mothers just like we're mothers. And what really, I'm going to get choked up, what really bothers me though is that, you know, they have the same dreams, the same hopes, desires, and for their children that we have for ours, but they can't even feed them. They can't buy them clothes. They can't buy them food. And you know, Gary came back from his trip and he was telling me that, you know, they don't all eat every meal. That, you know, there's certain children that get to eat certain meals in the day, and I'm thinking if my kids came home hungry and they asked me, you know, Mom, can I eat? And I said, no, it's not your turn. You know, you have to wait till the next meal they eat, and that would just breaks my heart.
We kind of broke the ice by playing soccer with some of the children, and then got some of the women involved in playing soccer, and kind of came down off the road and sat in a field with them for a while. And probably about 45 minutes after that, we felt comfortable enough to ask them if we could bring them lunch the next day, and they were agreeable to that. You know, we wanted to bring food and share a meal with them. And it was just a short walk across a couple of fields that they took us to the place that they lived. And I was very, I've seen poverty in Bajo, which a lot of people that know about Faithful Servant missions are familiar with, but this was even at a different level. There was no electricity, there was no running water, simply a creek that ran past their wooden shack lean-to type thing with a tarp over it, and even just like visqueen plastic over it. And they showed us their home. It was pretty much a maybe 15 by 15 foot little building. Their possessions were very meager. From what we could see, they had 2 large pots that I'm assuming they could cook like beans and rice in.
What kills you is they just open their arms with love and accept you in and just are happy, and it just blows you away that, you know, you go in there thinking, well, they should come on me and look at how I have to live, why this isn't right, but they are happy people, and they're proud, and they love each other. And
the poverty is pretty extreme in this population. They live literally from hand to mouth. Lots of times they can't take care of these kids. They realize that if they go to the hospital and drop the child off, or if they go to the fire station and drop the child off, that the child's potentially going to have a lot better life than they would living with them. So that's why they drop these kids off, because they love them and because they want a better life for them.
all had little swollen bellies on them. One little girl had nothing but like some dirty underwear on and just running around.
The little girl that kind of concerned me was the 3-year-old that you just saw in the little panties. Of course, she had the big swollen belly, which is indicative of most likely worms that they get out of the dirt. And she was thrilled to death to be given a baby doll. And it just broke my heart that, you know, the next couple of days, every time we saw her, she would not let go of that baby doll. As hungry as she was the day that we brought lunch, she clung to that baby doll and, you know, drank her drink and ate her sandwich, all the while not letting go of her baby doll. And then watching her watch her mom with the mom with about the 18-month-old, she observed her mother, and what her mother was doing with the 18-month-old, she was doing with the little baby dolls.
Probably one of the most memorable things was when we brought them lunch. A lot of the ladies made a bunch, like sacks full of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We went down there and handed them out, and the women would take them, go hide them in the house, and come back and get another one. Because I mean, they wouldn't know when they were going to get to eat again.
There was a baby in a hammock that had, her hair was falling out, and she was sitting there with just a diaper, laying there asleep in the hammock, and my daughter raised $82 at a yard sale yesterday to feed that baby. That's her goal, is to go buy food for that baby.
We brought them some staples and some, like, a few big bags of rice, and beans, and things like that they could cook and hopefully feed them for a while.
You know, it's the little things, it's not the big things, that when some child grows older and he looks back at his life and he remembers this mission trip that came, somebody that said something to him, or someone who put their arm around him, or someone that just prayed with him, is going to forever be in his memory. But he's not going to remember who built this church, who poured this concrete.
There's a very high rate of malnourishment in the children. Up to maybe 50% of these kids are malnourished, and what we would like to do is feed those children. And there's also a pretty decent abandonment rate, and what we would like to do is take these children and put them in the orphanage, where they can retain their culture, where they can retain a little bit of sense of who they are, and not just be thrown in and be ashamed, because in that country, the Nobe Bugli in particular are shunned, and they're kind of the untouchables. So we want to allow these children to learn, have a loving environment, but also retain a little bit of sense of who they are, so they can go back later and perhaps help some of their own people. The vision for the orphanage is to have 2 to 3 to 4, maybe even 5 different small cottages where 8, maybe 10 children live with one mother or one tia, which is the Spanish word for aunt. And we envision this to be a family type environment where you have one family living in a house, and the houses will be anywhere between 800 and 900 square feet, nothing really big, but a 3-bedroom house with eight children and one mother. And what we do is want to have, like I said, maybe 4 or 5 of these where you have 4 or 5 families living on the property, and they're all kind of independent but also interdependent on each other and functioning as a little community.
Mission work, it really is relaxing, but for me it remotivates me. It just charges my engine back up. I mean, it's hard work, so I'm worn out when I come back, but for the motive, I mean, it's what refuels me and it refreshes my soul.